Hello, everybody. Welcome on back to Fantasy Football Futures. I'm Tyler. This is Tim.
How's it going?
And today we're just going to kind of go over week 2. Some of the good performers, some of the people who didn't perform at all this week. It was kind of a weird fantasy week. I feel like there's a bunch of mixtures of guys who went off, and then I feel like a lot of guys that kind of had bad weeks this week.
The top two guys, Cup and Lockett, for wide receivers, were the top two again, and then everyone after that was like a little bit different.
Yeah, it's
definitely a weird week.
Quarterbacks had a weird week. Running backs had a weird week. I just think it was a weird week for everybody this week, and then the injury bug kind of hit too this week.
Yeah, the noon games had a lot of low-scoring games. Then later in the afternoon.
Later in the afternoon was much different than the beginning. So we'll get into some of those, and then we'll talk college picks and our Thursday night picks, and we'll pick some Thursday night players that we definitely think you should start and not start. But let's go ahead and get right into some of the news around the league. So really just injury updates at this point.
Yeah, there's a bunch of injuries week 2. I think that's also what made fantasy a little bit weird. Having Jarvis Landry go now this first or second drive, I think.
Yeah, he was out. He didn't come back in the game. Then we had Deontay Johnson get hurt at the end of the game, which they're saying right now it's not a big deal.
He avoided surgery.
But, I mean, he's still a week-to-week matchup that you're going to have to keep an eye out, especially just make sure he's going to stay healthy.
Yep, Wentz sprained both ankles. He's questionable. Derek Carr is questionable. Trey Sermon got his...
wrong. So, yeah, you got that, and then who else was there? I feel like there's another big-name guy that kind of got injured. Elijah Mitchell, the whole running backs for everybody for San Francisco has been dinged up. They're not healthy.
I read earlier today they're going to be trying out more running backs.
Yes, they're bringing in, who was it? What were their names?
I did not see who. I just saw multiple running backs.
Lamar Miller.
His brother.
Yeah, and then someone else. I forget who Duke Johnson. Duke Johnson and Lamar Miller will be out there getting reps today too with them, so that'll be interesting to see what they do. Josh Jacobs did not play this week.
And he's questionable for next week as well.
Yeah, so, I mean, there's a bunch of guys who kind of got injured, dinged up.
Tua has
negative
x-rays, but it's more about just kind of seeing if he's in a lot of pain, because he looked like he was in a lot of pain.
Yeah.
Looked pretty bad on the field, but actually isn't that bad. And then Tyrod Taylor... hurting, I think, his quad. He'll be out for Thursday for sure, maybe a couple extra weeks. So you'll have Davis Miller. Is that his name? The quarterback for the Texans? Davis Mills will be starting for them. So that's something to keep an eye on.
He's going to look out. And then, really, with the Cowboys, too, Amari kind of got dinged up a little bit, too.
Bruised ribs.
So, I mean, there's a lot of different injuries kind of going around.
I think, actually, on top of that, I think Darrell Henderson came out at the end of that.
He did come out. He had to go he went to the locker room. I don't remember hearing anything about him yet.
No, I haven't seen anything yet, nope.
So, there's a bunch of injuries to kind of look out for, which will also affect good weeks, bad weeks, kind of your weekly lineup and who to pick up, who not to pick up. So, we'll just kind of go over some of our top performers this week and some of the low performers this week. Let's go ahead and start with the low ones.
The low ones?
The ones who didn't perform. So we'll start at quarterback, and I'll just kind of go through my list real fast. I only chose 3. We're going to do 3 for each here. And really, I think these guys, I don't know, like, they had solid weeks last week, and like one that I'm about to mention, Dak Prescott. He was top performer last week, one of the top performing quarterbacks last week. Showed out, threw for over 400 yards, I believe it was. And then this week just came out flat, 7 points in the fantasy. Just not a good performance for him this week. And I thought against the Chargers defense they would have to come out trying to score a lot of points, but it didn't end up that way. So him coming out was super disappointing this week. And then I had Zach Wilson.
Yeah, that's
4 interceptions. That's
tough. Did you see Belichick came out and he said he's going to be a good quarterback. He made some good throws, and so did the
Oh,
Jets head coach. He came out and said the same thing. It's something you'll see in a rookie game 2 against Patriots against Belichick. They were light years ready for that.
Yeah, I knew, going into that game, especially against a guy like Belichick, it's going to be tough. And he was never comfortable in the pocket, making throws, and then just overthrowing guys. It didn't seem like him or his receivers were on any type. They weren't on the same wavelength at all. So he had a very poor week. I think he had 2 points this week for fantasy. He had, I think, like 230 yards, 240 yards throwing. Mm-hmm. So not a great performance. And then the 4 interceptions, which really killed him.
That really hurts, yes. And to be honest, that Jets defense was pretty good. They kind of kept him in the game. It could have been a lot worse.
Yeah, you force 4 turnovers, or you give up 4 turnovers, and you expect to get blown out by a lot. Yep. The margin wasn't that bad. The Jets defense, I think, is a lot better than what people think too. Mm-hmm. So that's something we kind of talked about on Sunday, was just how much better the Jets. Like, yeah, there's 4 turnovers, but they were still down like 16 with
they were still. It wasn't just a huge blowout.
Yeah, it wasn't crazy.
You're trying to find positives. That's something to look into.
And that's what, like, you saw positive. Like Michael Carter, he looked good. Tyson Johnson or Tyrell Johnson, I think it's Tyson Johnson. 4 of them in the backfield looked really good. It's just so, I don't know, you're kind of seeing pluses with them. So it's Jets are definitely in the right direction, I think, with Robert Saleh being at the helm too, and his defenses will always keep them in the game. So that was my second one. That kind of really disappointed me. And my third one was Jameis Winston. Just was not there this week at all for the Saints. He only put up, I think he only had 8 points in fantasy this week, which after last week, 5 touchdowns, no interceptions. It was a very solid performance for him, but this week he had only 111 yards passing and with 2 interceptions and a rushing touchdown. So that takes everything away. I expect him to still bounce back, but I think a lot of people overlooked the Panthers and were too high on the Saints after what they did to the Packers. So seeing what he did that first week with the 5 touchdowns was a little bit of a disappointment, but I mean, I'm not too upset with it. I think he'll be back. Sean Payton and them will be back. So it's definitely something to keep an eye out for us in the future to see how he's going to look. And really, he just needs to start getting some receivers back if we want to see him grow still.
So, those are actually my top 3. I think you could also throw in Justin Herbert.
Against a bad Cowboys defense. Yeah,
Cowboys defense. He only had 14 in our league, so I think that's pretty tough because you see with the rookie quarterback in I've lost his name.
Zach Wilson?
Zach Wilson, yeah. You see, and you kind of expect that from Herbert. Everyone was talking maybe a chance to even win MVP or in that conversation.
Yeah.
Coming out and having 2 disappointing weeks. Didn't do very good last week.
No.
This week, that's very disappointing. With Dak Prescott only having 7 points, that's really tough. They did run the ball a lot.
I know,
They kind of went to the Zeke and Pollard and just kind of gave them the ball and let them lead them to victory, which I'm not too mad about it. You usually do think the Cowboys, they're more throwing the ball a lot, passing. But then Amari Cooper went down, and Pollard was actually getting a lot of success.
Yes.
So why just keep going to him? So I understand where that comes from. Winston, that's something that really scares me because Kamara only ran the ball 8 times. So they're not running the ball a whole lot. That means Winston's just not getting to his wide receivers.
No.
I know the wide receivers are terrible. The tight end, Troutman, and what's the other one? Johnson, yeah, they're nothing that are nothing good for your team. So that's something you might see with Winston. You're not going to see those 5 touchdowns again, I think.
Yeah.
Until maybe Michael Thomas comes back, but it's something to look forward to. The Saints team, I kind of thought that was going to come out. Maybe just have to let Winston throw the ball a little bit more just to see what he'll do. I know he had the 2 interceptions, but it just did not look good for the Saints.
I think you got to show that you trust him, and then they also got to start giving their best player the ball. Yeah. And this is one thing that drives me nuts with Sean Payton is you have a top 5 running back in the league, top 3, like I would think, and he constantly doesn't put the ball in his hands, and it just drives me nuts. Like
he's so obsessed with Taysom Hill, which I just don't get. I think that's what makes them not a good team because Kamara ran the ball 8 times. caught the ball 4 times. So what, you think the Saints ran like 50-some plays,
Yeah.
and Kamara only has it 12 times?
You go back to any game the Saints are competitive or winning, and I guarantee Kamara has over 15
It's
carries
not Taysom
and
Hill
probably
in that
8 to 10 catches a game. It's just like you look at what he did in the Christmas game, 6 touchdowns. He's capable of doing anything. So to me, it's just they need to start giving him the ball more to help out with Jameis, and that'll kind of segue into like disappointing weeks for running backs, like you said.
Yep.
8 carries.
Was my top,
Yeah,
top
he is
one,
my
yeah.
top one. He had 5 points. It's just, I don't know, it's super disappointing to see him have a down week like that. And that's where I kind of think, like, this whole week was just different for fantasy. He didn't look good. He was not, he just wasn't running the ball the same. It just, I don't know, them not giving him the ball at all. I know the Panthers have pretty solid run defense, but still not great. So he was like my highlight of bad this week, especially being how high he's drafted. And that's what you've already talked about. So we both have him at 1. My second one that kind of disappointed this week was Jonathan Taylor. 15 rushes, only 51 yards.
Yep, and he was actually used. What was disappointing is he was actually in the red zone.
Oh, yeah.
But the
They're getting
Colts failed to
stuffed.
score so many times.
Yeah.
That's super disappointing. Taylor only got 1 target out of the backfield, ran the ball 15 times. He's showing that he's their number 1 running back, but you got to score down there. I don't know exactly what's going on with the Colts, and especially with Wentz being out now.
Yeah.
It's very scary. Within they do play against the Titans defense, so that's not something you should sit them on. But it's something to look forward to if that Colts can get into the red zone more.
Yeah, and that's what it's going to be interesting to see what they do with that. He's definitely up there. Tough. I don't know. It's just tough for me. You can't sit him, especially if they're playing the Titans defense, who we just saw Chris Carson have a good game, Russell Wilson, and everybody. But it's just the fact that I don't even think the Colts know what they want in a running back yet. But a good plus for Jonathan Taylor is that he's seen all these goal line touches. So continue, I guess. You got to continue to play him because you're going to beat yourself up if he does what he did the last 5 games of the year.
And a lot of people probably took him in maybe the first or second round,
Yeah.
so you're not wanting to give up on him so fast.
No. So he's our second one. And then the third one, I feel like there's a list of guys we can put here. So, like, for Elijah Mitchell.
I think Mitchell should be here just because
of what
how much people spent on him. If you have Fab, how much people spent on him just to see that disappointing performance against the Eagles' defense.
Yeah.
And
6.3 points after doing what he did last week. I know you can't trust a Kyle Shanahan running back, whatever, but to me, I don't know. It's just super disappointing. You go get this guy expecting him to be the lead back. He did get dinged up some, but still, 6.3, you can't.
Yeah,
you can't come out with that kind of performance after you only had 42 rushing and 11 receiving yards. So I don't know. It's just tough.
That's what makes him number 3, just because how many people
of what happened last week. Yeah, because that's why it was like him, and then you could even look at guys like Joe Mixon, Miles Sanders.
Yep. For a lot of those, I'm just not worried about because I think they played a little bit tougher defenses. Like Barkley, still he only had 8.9, but he's still injured.
Yeah.
The one that scares me a little bit is Antonio Gibson. How much McKissick was in there?
That's the one that.
But I think with it being a Thursday, you got to see. Do you really think McKissick's going to get that much of a shareholder? Or is it going to be more back to Gibson when they're on a full week of practice and everything?
And is it really going to change too much with Heineke being quarterback? That's what I keep coming back to is what's this offense going to look like with Heineke back there? And Gibson, yes, he's had. Did he get 10 points last week? I don't know if he did.
No,
he's
right under.
And he's probably a guy you're getting late first, early second, thinking, I finally got a guy I got to steal. And like in our keeper league, somebody got him in the 10th last year, and he's just not performing at all. So I don't know. It's just tough. I have him in a couple leagues, and you just want him to get back to what you know he can do. It's just there's so much uncertainty here with what that offense is going to look back like with Taylor Heineke. We saw a lot more J.D. McKissick and everything. So to me, that's a big interesting one. So and And then Barkley, I think, is someone to keep your eye out on, too, for sure. So those guys were all, like, the huge disappointments this week in fantasy. And then there's a couple guys to look out for, like Mixon. Is it just a weekly thing? Like, I thought his performance against the Vikings was just a fluke. But, I mean, I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see how it grows.
Very good. I think they threw the ball a lot more. What the Bengals want to do, if you can get Mixon against a very bad running defense, I think that's when he shines. He can score a lot of points.
Yes.
Be a top 10 running back.
So then wide receivers here. Another very disappointing week out of Ayuk. He had one catch this time for 6 yards.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on with that.
2 targets, I think, is all he had. I don't know what's going on.
I was big on Ayuk, and
yeah, it's
I have him in one of my leagues, and I'm already done with him. That's how is he going to be so much better? Like just the next game, they're going to throw him the ball 10 times.
Yeah.
Like, what would make that difference? I don't think there is. So
I don't think there's a whole lot there either. I don't know.
I'm done with him, and I'm also done with Callaway from the Saints.
Marquez Callaway.
A lot of people were talking about him, and he's had 2 down weeks. So
after coming off that great,
don't see much coming out of that. So I moved on from that.
So yeah, those I don't know. To me, the Ayuk thing's super weird. Deebo Samuel just looks so much better than anybody else they have. So I'm interested to see what's going to happen with Ayuk. And Shanahan, I don't know what's going on there with Sermon, Ayuk, Shanahan, but Shanahan just keeps throwing like shots at these guys in the media, like saying Ayuk has yet to become a professional. He has to learn how to do this. Saying like we're putting the best guys out there to win. So I don't really know what is going on there. They had to have done something that we're not aware of yet to kind of receive what's going on. Like Ayuk is a playmaker. I feel like him and Deebo are very similar. Deebo's more north and south, where Ayuk can make you miss. So I don't know. I'm interested to see what's going to happen with that. The next guy I had was Corey Davis. He was on one of my must starts. But this also goes back to
super hard to blame Corey Davis.
It's New England. I think you look at it like, dang, this is going to happen a couple times here and there, but at the same time, you just kind of got to trust him and hope that he will continue to be that number one, put up the week 1 numbers that he did. So it's just a tough matchup against New England. Maybe next time they play him. And you think about it, that's 1 out of 2 matches already gone. Our matchups with New England, so that's good for them. And I think Zach Wilson will continue to grow, so I wouldn't panic on Davis yet at all, just because of the potential that's there, the ceiling that he can reach. And then it being Zach Wilson's only second game, he's got time to grow and mature.
Honestly, I think he'll be fine.
And then to me, the third one for me that I thought was the most disappointing performance was Antonio Brown.
Yep, I was going to put him in Devontae Smith.
Yes.
Both of them. I think Antonio Brown, I think you might see this throughout the year because with the Buccaneers
receivers.
They have a really good offense. You also have to compete with Mike Evans.
Gronk,
especially Gronk now. I didn't know Gronk would be in this much. But Gronk and Godwin. So you might see Antonio Brown go for 15 to 20 points and then have a week like this.
Oh, yeah.
So it's something to keep an eye on. You kind of have to play. It's against the Falcons, a very bad passing defense, and only score 2 points. So that's kind of disappointing when you think that, especially with Tom Brady throwing 5 touchdowns. And so it's something you have to look at now because kind of play your matchups. This was a bad matchup. Or actually not bad, but a really good matchup for a wide receiver that just disappointed. Devontae Smith, it was the Eagles were just weird.
They started off great, and then it just nothing. Jalen Hurts didn't look great, yeah.
It's not the same with Antonio Brown. I think Devontae Smith will be perfectly fine, and he'll have
he has 7 targets, 2 catches, so he's still going to get all the workload there.
Yep.
It's just, you might get this with the Eagles here and there every once in a while, but he's their best playmaker. He's their best weapon. They're going to utilize him a lot. So, yeah, like you said, I'm not worried. And then here's another one that kind of I want to mention too is Tyreek Hill only had 14 receiving yards, 3 catches, 15 rushing yards, which if you're starting him, you're like...
Yeah, he didn't get hurt either.
No. Like where Cooper
Cooper only had 5,
Yeah.
but he got injured, and he still had 5 targets. So
It's just a low week for a lot of people. Like Robbie, here's one area of concern. Are you concerned about Robbie Anderson?
honestly, how many targets DJ Moore is getting and how many tech catches and targets McCaffrey's getting? Yes, I think I talked about it a little bit last week, but Robbie Anderson is. You were getting him around the 8th, 9th round. Consistent player, just got paid. But how much Sam Darnold is really throwing to McCaffrey and DJ Moore, and even Terrence Marshall,
Yeah.
he's getting some targets too. That just takes away from Robbie Anderson. I can see if you ever have a big week from him, it's going to be like last week where
He gets a big
50-yard
catch or
touchdown.
something.
He's only gonna. I can only see him having 3-4 catches max a game, just
That's
because
right.
of all those other targets that are going to other people.
And that's why I think it's just, I don't know. To me, it's very worrisome. Like you said, like I have DJ Moore, so I have DJ Moore in one league and then Robbie Anderson in the other league. I feel like with Darnold back there, DJ Moore is gonna benefit a lot more. Darnold and Robbie already played together, and I don't think Robbie and him had the greatest connection either there. So, it's just I don't know. It's tough. I worry a lot about what's going to happen with them. And he's one that maybe if he has a good week, you sell high. You try to sell, like he comes back next week, you sell high for
You
him.
did that, or if you can get him, if you have DJ Moore, maybe he gets out for a week. I think that's when Robert Anderson shines. But other than that, I can't see myself almost in like one of the best matchups you're going to get this Thursday against the Texans. But are you feeling comfortable playing?
That's what, yeah.
Still?
Like
I don't feel comfortable at all.
You might play him because it's the Texans, but they got McCaffrey, who's going to get a lot of touches, and what's his name? DJ Moore, Terrace Marshall. So I don't know. It's Robbie Anderson's definitely, I think, on worry watch for me. So tight ends, I'm not going to go over.
Yeah,
you got your normal. Waller only had 9 points, which is a disappointment. But
Kittle with 5. And so,
Kittle's, I don't know what's going on. This is San Francisco's offense. You just don't know.
Yeah, that's
So to me, I'm interested to see what's going to happen there. But really, I don't know. Tight ends, you got your normal guys, and that's kind of it. With disappointments, like if they don't get 10 points, it's whatever. You can't expect a lot out of tight
ends.
ends.
On Monday afternoon, so we haven't seen T.J. Hawkinson play yet.
And I'm sure
he'll be perfectly fine.
Sure, he'll be great.
Yeah,
He's, I think, one that if you
I'm telling you, he looks like he could take over that Kittle spot if this keeps happening.
he very well can. So I'm definitely interested to see there what's going to happen. But then let's go ahead and let's go through top 3 players for quarterbacks that outperformed what we thought. To me, my biggest surprise here was Tom Brady again throwing 4 touchdown passes. Oh, 5 touchdown passes, and then having 276 yards passing again. You're 44. I don't know how you keep doing it. The Bucs do not throw the football, or they just refuse to run. We watched that game. Ronald Jones thought maybe we get that 13 points, right?
He had 9 close.
No, he's at the 1. Let me just throw fade to Mike Evans. Let me run 3 play actions to not run the ball. Get Tommy Reed passing touchdown. So to me, he's my biggest man. He can't keep this up. 2 weeks in, he's done it twice now, and I don't see why it would stop. You got playmakers all over the field. And you gave this guy a whole year, a whole offseason to get way better. So, to me, it's going to be super interesting what's going to happen.
Yeah, Tom Brady was a must start, and I know we talked about you thought that might be a little iffy because if the Bucs go up big or early, they could start running the ball.
But
Atlanta stayed around until the 2 pick sixes.
Yeah, they stayed around for a while. So
that's what made that happen. So
played well for you.
My actually surprise is it's going to be a little bit different.
Kirk Cousins?
Derek Carr, top 10 quarterback 2 times in a row.
That's true.
The Ravens defense, and then now the
Steelers defense. 2 very good defenses.
It's going to be interesting to see. He is injured now, so it's going to be interesting to see if he starts this week or not. But him being in top 10, he's been a very inconsistent quarterback throughout his whole career. And him being able to do it back-to-back against very 2 good defenses in the AFC. It was very impressive, and this time it was without Waller. He was throwing it to
everybody.
Ruggs. He was throwing it to everybody. So
that's what
without having to use Waller and just get all those points or those like garbage time points, I think he sometimes gets. I think that's pretty interesting.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about a little bit that Derek Carr's notorious for having a really good game and then coming out doing nothing. So to see him come back 2 for 2 top 10 performances is a big surprise. And to me, I just think he's available in most leagues. You can pick him up, sit him on your bench, and is playing for matchups. You know he's got Darren Waller. Henry Ruggs finally looked like why they drafted him in the first round. And I don't know. The TJ Watt did get out. He's another injury we missed, the groin. He did get injured, so that kind of affected the game a little bit, I think. But Derek Carr did look very good. He was throwing the ball. He didn't make any errors.
382 passing yards, 2 passing touchdowns. So.
Yeah, so he's making smart decisions, not turning the ball over. So he's definitely a very big pickup, and that surprised me. And then I already mentioned the next guy that I thought really has shown very good weeks is Kirk Cousins with the Vikings. He has 351 yards, first game 2 touchdowns, and then second game 244 yards, 3 touchdowns against the Cardinals defense who shut down the Titans. So he's like my biggest surprise guy outside of kind of what we mentioned. Because it's Kirk Cousins. He doesn't do anything.
The interesting thing is Justin Jefferson hasn't been playing the ball. Hasn't getting the ball.
KJ Osborne, Thielen, and then he did hit Jefferson for a touchdown.
He did one time, but that was pretty much it for Jefferson. Yeah. He didn't do too much. So.
Kirk's playing smart. He's spreading the ball around, which is helping out Dalvin, I think, although Dalvin is a little dinged up.
It's just tough. They lost in 2 tough. They missed a 37-yarder this week. Last week they had it going in overtime, and then Dalvin Cook fumbled.
He didn't fumble, but they fumbled. Yeah. So I think their offense can keep up with a lot of people. It's that defense that we talked about.
That defense is going to make the other team have a lot of points, so that offense will have to keep up.
Yeah. So
he's Kirk Cousins up there a lot.
Yeah, he's someone you can pick up. You had your usual game from Kyler again. Yeah, he's looking really good.
I think he's heading the MVP right now, lead for the MVP.
Yeah.
So
he's outperformed everybody. He's playing really well. He did throw 2 picks yesterday, but still 35 points for him with 2 picks. I don't know. He's looking really good with Hopkins and
400 passing yards.
Randall Moore, yeah.
It's crazy.
And then we'll just touch on a little bit Lamar Jackson.
We didn't talk about Randall Moore for our wide receivers.
Well, because we're not there yet. And then Lamar Jackson had a very good game last night against the Chiefs. Running the ball, throwing the ball. That little jump pass that he had to Marquise Brown. So
he had a really good bounce back.
Like the Chiefs, but man, am I glad they're losing games. Nothing makes me happier than when the Chiefs lose a game. So those are our top quarterbacks that we kind of thought surprised us, put up really good performances that were outside the norm of Mahomes, Murray, Lamar. And you know who's really been disappointing? I didn't even talk about this. Josh Allen.
Yep.
He's one that I think is very disappointing lately. It's just he's not doing anything.
You know the Bills at home for week 3, I was looking at the lines. They're 9-point favorites against the Washington football team.
Really?
Yeah.
Be interesting.
Which, their offense, I know they play against the Dolphins, but Tua got hurt, and that offense couldn't do anything. So,
no, they were.
But honestly, I was actually, when we transferred to the running backs, both running backs were in top 15 this week. That's what, fantasy, so.
Singletary had that 46-yard run.
In the end.
Or 54 something, to touchdown run to start the game, and then Zach Moss had a touchdown. Has 2 touchdowns, which helped this week out. So
he had 2 receptions, so
he's one for sure. So let's go ahead and then let's move on into those running backs. Let's go ahead, take the crown, put it back on King Henry's head. God bless him. Save the Titans.
He doubled in our league. He doubled the score of McCaffrey, who was number 2 running back.
Yeah, which is crazy.
Yep.
Derrick Henry, heck of a game. Put it on Titans. rushed for 182 yards, 3 touchdowns, and he was catching the ball. 6 receptions for Derrick Henry, 55 yards, which is not normal.
35 carries. Titans got back to what I feel like they might have not
Done
that against the Cardinals last week. They got back to how they win games and just give Derrick Henry the ball.
So he was just, you had to mention that performance won me a nice chunk of change with plus 6.5 and money line. So love Derrick Henry. But this right here, one guy is really high up here. That's Tony Pollard.
Yeah, so actually with Tony Pollard, there's actually 4 running backs in the top 10 that are probably under waiver wire.
Oh, easily.
And Pollard led the way with 24 points. He had, how many touchdowns he had?
1.
He had 1 touchdown.
109 rushing yards.
Yep.
31 receiving yards and 3 catches.
This is why Dak didn't have a good week between him, and then Zeke actually had a pretty good day himself, just not as good as Pollard. So they're just running the ball down the Chargers' throats, and it was successful. So it was a great week for him. Great week to have a Cowboys running back.
Are you worried Pollard might be taking a lot more touches away from Zeke in the future?
I think in this game showed that he actually might. I know over in the offseason, they talked about wanting to get Pollard the ball and having Zeke have less runs so he kind of can stay healthy.
Yeah.
And then Pollard showing he can do this. I can see Pollard taking, I would say, 70-30, 60-40, something.
That's what I don't. To me, he just looks smoother running the ball behind that offensive line than what Zeke has looked over the last couple games. And to me, I think Zeke will definitely get his carries. He'll still get whatever, but I expect Pollard to take away more touches from Zeke throughout it, just because why not use 2 running backs? You have, Pollard and Zeke will be good. Utilize both of them in different ways. You can have them on the field at the same time. Both can catch, both can run. Use that. And then I think they will, and that'll be something to watch for. And I think that's the only way you might see some of Zeke's workload being taken away. But I think Zeke will still remain that red zone guy. But I mean, Tony Pollard had one the other day, so I don't know. It's tough to me to judge.
You can honestly, in deeper leagues, your 12, 14 team leagues.
If you have Zeke, go get him.
If you have Zeke, go get him. But also, if you have Tony Pollard and you're struggling, you're really low on running backs, having him as your running back number 2 in those deeper leagues, that's not a terrible play.
Throw him in your flex, see maybe it'll happen.
I would rather have him than any of the Texans running backs. A couple of teams that you're just really questioning who's going to get the ball. I think Pollard is going to be consistently at least get some touches.
Yeah, and he's one. It's definitely something to look for. And if you have Zeke and he's available, why not go get him as a handcuff just in case something were to happen? So he'll definitely be available in leagues. The next guy that I have, Cordero Patterson with the Atlanta Falcons. Had himself a week. He had
5 receptions.
Yeah, 5 receptions, a receiving touchdown.
And a rushing touchdown.
58 receiving yards, a rushing touchdown, and then 11 rushing yards. So he had himself a very good week against the Bucks.
Are you looking into that at all, or is it just
I don't know. I wouldn't really. You can pick him up if you got Mike Davis, but really I'm not looking into that too much. He's going to be a receiving threat out of the backfield because he is a receiver. Mm-hmm. So
the thing is, Mike Davis didn't have a terrible game. He just didn't score the touchdown. He had 7 catches out of the backfield. He had 9 rushes. Can't do much against the Bucks, but he had those 7 catches. So
that's what I wouldn't be too worried about it. It's Cordero Patterson. He didn't do the first week. I don't think he did anything.
I don't think he did anything either.
He
had 8 points.
I wouldn't be too worried about it.
No, I wouldn't.
It's probably all receiving. So, I'd still ride with Mike Davis. If you get a spot, pick him up. Why not? Mm-hmm. Hold on to him. But it was a big shock to see him up there. And then we got Eckler up here. But the next guy we were talking about who will be available is J.D. McKissick with Washington football team. Had a very big week as well. And then Devin Singletary, too, with the Bills.
And then you also have James White down there, 18 points. That was it's disappointing if you have Damian Harris, seeing James White get all those points and get those touches. I believe he had 1 rushing touchdown.
Yeah, 5 rushes, 20
6
yards.
catches, so that makes up a lot of the points, but you would like to see Damian Harris get all those touchdowns in the red zone.
That's what, if I'm in a PPR league, I would definitely go look for guys James White, because his sole purpose, Mac Jones, is essentially kind of like a younger Brady.
Mm-hmm.
so he's going to throw him the ball. So that's what you got to go kind of grab a guy like James White and hold on to him just in case he's such a good PPR threat to have. He can get you 15 points, and that's what, 15 points by each player gets you a win in fantasy most of the time. So he's definitely one guy to keep an eye out for. And so that will kind of round out that. Let's go to receivers this week. Who, to you, had the best and most surprising week this week?
Surprising, I would say Rondale Moore with the Cardinals.
Yes.
26 points. He had 1 touchdown, 7 catches, 114 yards.
Yes.
So he also, one of them was a very deep touchdown. One touchdown he
50
had.
plus reception.
Mm-hmm. So he had a surprising week. He was wide receiver number 4 in our league. It's just weird what the Cardinals are doing, but how much Kyler is spraying the ball around. DeAndre Hopkins had 4 catches, and all of them were on the first drive.
Yep.
So knowing, if you're a Cardinals fan, knowing that Hopkins doesn't need to get the ball every game and be able to score 34 points. Rondale Moore had a touchdown. AJ Green had a touchdown.
Yep.
One thing that was surprising, I don't know exactly what his. Let me see if I can find it real
For
fast.
what?
Kirk. What he did, he didn't have that big of a game. Only had 3 catches when he had that big week.
Yep.
So you might see behind DeAndre Hopkins, you might see Kirk might have a good week one week. The next week, Rondale Moore. And I think AJ Green will be a little bit in there, but I think it's going to be between Kirk and Rondale Moore, who that wide receiver number 2 is for them.
And I agree. Rondale Moore is just, I think they're going to utilize him in different ways. Kirk and Rondale Moore are both big weapon guys. So, he's definitely someone you're going to look at to go get. He's going to get involved. The Cardinals love to throw the football. So, it's Cliff Kingsbury is a pass rate guy. Had Patrick Mahomes when Mahomes was going off with that big game, 600-yard passing against Baker. So, they're going to move the ball around through the air, and why not go pick up a guy who's going to get those targets? He was a big one, and then Henry Ruggs finally showed why he was a new drafted early. He had 2 rushing yards, which isn't big, but he had 113 receiving yards, 1 touchdown, 5 catches, and then he had that really big catch to seal the game. So Henry Ruggs, if Carr is healthy, is someone you might want to keep an eye out for because he is that deep ball threat. And they got Edwards, who finally kind of a little help. You got Waller, of course, and Renfro even down low. So they got one guy that you need to be deep ball threat. And with the Raiders over the last 2 games, I say why not go look at a guy like Ruggs.
You just hope, if you're a Ruggs fan and you pick him up, you just hope to kind of see that consistency.
Yeah.
I think what does scare me with Ruggs is him putting up the 24 points and then only maybe having a catch or 2 the next game. It's very tough for me to pick him up right now. Well, I wouldn't say that. I would say I would pick him up, but the start would be hard for me to do that at the moment. But if he keeps doing that, doesn't need to score the 25 points. But if he can keep getting those catches and keep getting those deep passes to him, I'd be ready to play him.
Yep. So he's definitely one to watch out for. And then I kind of get 2 more guys I want to touch on. Marquise Brown, looking like Marquise Brown from 2 years ago.
Making me eat crow.
I wasn't high on him either, so I'm not sure what to think of what's going on. Maybe him and Lamar getting that off season, maybe him just realizing after that first season, okay, maybe I need to get back to what my old work ethic or whatever.
2 touchdowns each game.
Yeah, and he was top 5 last year. Yeah. He was very good this week too. So to me, Marquise Brown's a very interesting guy to he's probably on benches in most leagues. People probably aren't playing him because you know what he did last year. It wasn't great. He's dropping balls, couldn't hold on to anything. And the next guy that I have here is Mike Williams with the Chargers. A touchdown reception, 7 catches, and 91 receiving yards.
Yeah, he was at the beginning of the season we were talking about it, he was one of my sleepers. And the first 2 weeks he's been awesome for the Chargers.
Yeah.
Herbert's really going to him a lot more than I thought he would. I thought a lot more would be going to Allen.
Yep.
And Allen's having decent games, but nothing that he's put up He's put up a lot more in the past. And Mike Williams is taking that away from him. So if Mike Williams can keep it up, I'm starting him in my flex or the wide receiver 2 position.
Yeah, that's what over the past 2 weeks he's had 22 targets, 15 catches, almost 180 yards
That's the thing
receiving.
with Mike Williams. If he can
and 2
stay
touchdowns.
healthy, he can put up those points. It's
Yeah,
just a matter
he's a
of fact.
huge body out there.
Yes.
So, and that's what it comes down to is, can he stay healthy? We don't know. I don't know.
But until he gets hurt, I'm playing him.
Yeah, and that's what you got to do. You just got to take that risk and play him, and hopefully he stays healthy and they continue doing what they're going to do.
Mm-hmm.
Tight ends for me, it's all the same. Surprising to see Gronk still have. He's going to be a touchdown machine this year. He might have 40 touchdowns this year.
He has 4, I think.
Yeah, he already has 4. So,
2 apiece. So
getting him is
that's
just.
where we come in with Antonio Brown. I think he gets hurt the worst with Gronk scoring those 2 touchdowns.
Oh yeah, Tony Brown. Yeah, Mike Evans. Those two being alone take away any touchdown threat Brown has, unless it's a big time throw.
Mm-hmm.
And Godwin, I think it just looks like Godwin's his favorite target outside of being in the red zone.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know.
I don't know. He's been throwing the ball to Fournette more than I thought.
I know that was weird too. So
it's weird right now. But I think it just. Tom Brady likes what he likes, and if you're catching the ball, scoring touchdowns, he's going to keep the ball.
And I mean, he's been with Gronk forever.
Yeah,
so those were our top from QB, running back, receiver, our tops performers this week. Now, let's each give our 3 must-adds this week. And for me, my first one is going to be a wide receiver, and it's going to be, I think it's got to be Rondale Moore, in my opinion. Mm-hmm. I like him because of the fact we talked about they're going to throw the ball around a lot. They drafted him in the 2nd round. They want to utilize him, his speed. He was a playmaker at Purdue. To me, he's one guy that they're going to want to get the ball in his hands this week. So keep an eye out for him. He's probably available in most leagues. Rondale Moore is big for me. My second guy is actually another receiver, and his name is Marvin Jones Jr.
My first one was Marvin Jones Jr. My second one is Rondale Moore.
Really?
Yeah.
So it's Marvin Jones Jr. showed he's the best receiver on that team. With Laviska's he also got hurt. That's the other one. I knew there was somebody else. He was also dinged up on Sunday. So
and then Chark having a good week and then having a very, very... We didn't talk about him, but he had a very disappointing week. I think that's where you're going to see more. Marvin Jones, which all that was going to be that number 1 receiver. So that's who I'm picking up. He had a touchdown. I know in the first game he had a last-second touchdown that was just kind of trash. But I think you're going to see Marvin Jones getting those red zone touches, those deep balls to him. So I'm picking him up with 1, and then, like you said, with Rondale Moore, number 2.
And then the third guy I'm looking at, especially PPR leagues, we talked about him last week a little bit, being that under-the-radar third guy on the Vikings.
The Osborne.
KJ Osborne.
Was it first or second play?
Second play, 60-yard bomb
to him. And I think he only had 3 receptions. But
he had 5 catches for 91 yards and a touchdown. So they're throwing him the football.
They're really throwing the football, and because they're doing more of that 3 wide receiver set, he's on the field a lot more as a third wide receiver.
Yes.
So usually you would only pick up Jefferson or Thielen, but now he's on the field a lot. The Osborne's a great pickup.
Yeah. So
my number 3, I'm going with Ruggs. I'm picking him up because if he can stay consistent with Derek Carr and get those catches, I think it'd be a great pickup. Because Raiders are 2-0, they're passing the ball a lot. Jacobs looks like he'll be hurt and maybe out again. And they're not. They like Payne Barber, Kenyon Drake. They're run the ball, but
they're not going to be anything.
Not really doing anything.
And that's what Ruggs. I think you can put him up there as well. It's just like you said, his explosive ability, his playmaking abilities there. KJ Osborne's kind of in those deeper leagues. He's a limited guy that you're going to need because he's not going to do much. So, he's not going to be looked at like Thielen and Jefferson are, especially having Cook healthy. So, to me, I think those 4 guys this week, especially PPR, are ones that you're going to definitely want to look at. Their running backs this week, I feel like there really weren't many. You could pick up the Bills guys if they're still available.
James White maybe because you saw, but he only did that.
James White, yeah.
For 1 week, so
if McKissick's there, just go grab these handcuffs to your guys.
Mm-hmm.
And really, here's another one. Sony Michel, I didn't even mention this. If Henderson's actually out, he's next up. So Sony Michel's a guy, and then they have a rookie on their roster. I forget his name. But he's one to stash away too. And then really the only other guy I see is like for if dynasty or keeper or whatever, like a Michael Carter. That's maybe has good potential.
Are you looking at McKissick at all, or do you think it's going to go more?
If I have Gibson, I think I'd look at McKissick just because. Like last year, me and you were picking him up, dropping him left and right, playing him in our flex because he's getting 10 targets a game. You can't. If they're catching the ball in PPR 10 times, that's 10 points. That's more than.
What was very weird to me seeing McKissick though on the end zone and run the ball in.
I think that was just a goal line.
Was that just like
2-minute offense? They were there, and it was just like we're scoring. You're getting this. So
the same thing, and that was a little bit weird, but I kind of thought the same thing.
So yeah, those were our must add. So we each have Marvin Jones, Rondale Moore, and then Henry Ruggs and KJ Osborne are guys to keep an eye out for. And if you're looking at running backs, kind of handcuff Pollard, McKissick, and James White definitely someone to keep an eye out for the Patriots with how Mac Jones plays. So that's definitely the thing to watch out for. Those are must add. So tomorrow going through Fab, figure out how you're going to spend your money. I don't see anybody getting big spender like Elijah Mitchell was last week. So I don't know. I'll be interested to see what kind of Fab's going to look like this week for us. And that is it for our top dogs, kind of people who disappointed.
Had a great week. They're studs and duds.
Yeah. The old booms or busts.
Yeah.
But yeah, so let's go ahead and move on to some of the gambling. Tim, looking at the gambling here. This week, I was blessed, had a very good week in gambling.
Couple of bad
besides the props, besides Kyle Pitts, didn't do great. Jalen Hurts, don't know what happened to him. But, I mean, overall, I was 4-1 this weekend. Chiefs really screwed me last night. But
yeah, I took a couple extra spreads. It actually went pretty well. I think the big one I missed on was the Saints -3. Just completely lost that. But my lock hit and my favorite hit. So
that's what my favorite pushed. And then my dog hit.
Yep.
It all hit. Rams really pissed that one away too. That kind of was a bummer. They should not have let the Colts come back in that game.
Yep.
So really depends with what they're there. So let's go ahead then. Thursday night. What do you got? The old Carolina Panthers versus Houston Texans. Carolina is at Houston and they're favored. -7.5 points right now.
So I was kind of thinking Texans plus 7.5, but more I thought about it. Panthers are actually looking really good right now.
Yeah.
And the Texans have covered 2 spreads. They're 2-0 against the spread. So with them being at home, they lost Tyrod Taylor. It's going to be tough for me to take or think that they're going to lose by a touchdown or less. I'm really thinking the Panthers. It's going to be. I'm taking the under for sure.
The under's 43.5.
I'm taking the under for sure. Texans are number 2 in carries, so they're running the ball a lot.
Okay.
Panthers are 6. They're running the ball a lot. I think a lot of times you're going to come off the clock. I do not think the Texans are going to get more than 2 touchdowns. So I can see them scoring a couple field goals, but I think this is going to be a low-scoring game. I think that's what makes me think the Texans could cover, but I'm actually not touching the spread. I'm taking the under.
Okay.
And I have one prop bet. I'm taking the Texans over first half, 6.5 points.
That's very interesting.
So they just need to score a touchdown.
What are the odds of that one? Is it over 6.5 or 8.5?
I got on DraftKings at 6.5.
Okay. I'm looking at FanDuel right now, and they're over 8.5 at plus 100. So that line's moving. Looking at
Texans 6.5 right there.
I would take that. Yes. Going off what you said, I agree. Panthers look way too good. I think with Davis Mills being in there and Tyrod Taylor, they're going to look much different. That Panthers defense has looked really good. Mm-hmm. I like them -7.5 this week.
This might be a week where you want to buy half a point. Just get
get that 7.
Just in case
something crazy happens. Yeah. So I like them, and then I also like first half total points by the Panthers to be over 13.5. Loving the first half point totals right there. I might take both of them.
13. So you're
13.
almost like in the over then.
No.
But you're just...
First half, it's 20 points. What's 20 points? 21 points. I don't know. The over-unders, I feel like it's a sneaky over pick that we can hit because I feel like Thursday night game, anything can happen.
And with that new quarterback in, you can honestly see a turnover and back by the Panthers territory.
Yeah, you just don't know what's going to kind of happen. So I like the over 13.5 first half points for the Panthers.
I like that too.
As well as the Panthers minus 7.5. I just think they're so much better than the Texans. And I feel like this one is just like you got to bet it the right way. You know, you can't just...
Sometimes you can't overthink it.
Yeah, like, usually overthink, like, wow, this is a lot closer than it should be. But then it's just like, no, this one's got to be.
Yep.
So I love Panthers minus 7.5. And I love that first half, over 13.5 points for the Panthers. And really, that's kind of all I got for this game. Do you have any other ones?
Not really. That's all.
You know what? I'm going to take the over. I'm going to go the over. I'm going to take the over at 43.5 too. I'm going to put that in real fast. So I got
I was pretty confident last Thursday, and the over hit by a lot.
I think the over will hit here. I think it will kind of be an instant like last week. Panthers might score a lot, so...
Screw it. I'll take the over.
Nope, you ride
No,
the
under. I'm going the over.
All right, I'm going to take the under.
Okay.
Okay, so minus 7.5, Panthers minus 13.5, and then the over this week for me with the Panthers. It's just over minus 43.5. I think they're going to get that.
Yep,
I don't know. I'm going to take the over there. So those are our Thursday night picks. I had Carolina minus 7.5, over 43.5, and then Panthers over 13.5 first half points.
Yep, and I just have the over 43.5. I'm not taking the spread. And I have Texans over 6.5 points in the first half, and then I'll be taking the Panthers 13.5 points in the first half as well. Over.
Perfect. So those are our Thursday night picks. Be able to go check us out on the Action app and follow along with those, as well as heading on over to our TikTok where we put them out every day. So something to follow us along and see what we pick each day. We'll send out some tweets. Now let's go on to college football, where last week I was 2-1, felt great. I was sitting at home looking at that Fresno State game, and I was just like, I think they might win. And I was this close. It was 7-6 at one point, and they were still like plus 200. I was going to throw money on the money line. I just didn't.
Just couldn't do it.
Couldn't do it. But I won them covering plus 11.5. They won outright. The Cincinnati coming up huge on that goal line, forcing a fumble at the one, getting them at minus 3.5, as well as then the one that lost me was Coastal Carolina, which was kind of a shock that they didn't beat them by more, but it's a tough game conference, so it is what it is.
So I went 1-2. I lost Alabama minus 14. They looked good in the first half, but Florida just stuck around the whole game. Only lost by 2 or 3. But then at the end of the night, I ended up taking Fresno State plus 11, so I hit that. I did take Purdue money line, but Notre Dame won by 2 touchdowns. And I also took Penn State. I got them live at minus 1.5, so I ended up being 3-3.
3-3, not bad.
For my picks on the show, I was 1-2, pretty disappointing. Hopefully, let's turn this around this week, and I have 2 picks. I'm pretty confident.
Yeah, I hope you turn it around too, Tim. Yeah. So who do you got this week then? Who are your 2?
My first pick is Michigan State minus 5 against Nebraska. I think Nebraska is a very bad team. Michigan State just pulled off an upset at Miami, beating Miami at their own place.
Yes.
So I'm really liking Michigan State minus 5 against Nebraska. And my second pick, Mississippi State plus 2.5 at home versus LSU. Mississippi lost. They've lost a very tough game against Memphis, and Memphis came back and won that game. So I think it's going to be a good bounce back week, and they're going to probably even beat or at least cover this against LSU.
That's what LSU to me. They're just a team I never know about throughout the year. It's definitely something to keep your eye on to see how they perform throughout the week. But they're definitely one to watch out for. as I was looking through these, I feel like there's a bunch of spreads that are very large this week, and it's hard to hammer in on what you're going to take. Like Mississippi State, LSU, I was looking at that one. I just couldn't. I don't know. That one's tough to me. Mizzou, Boston College. I hate Mizzou. Cannot stand Mizzou. But you think being SEC, they should beat their team by 2.5 points, right? In Boston College, I don't know. It's very tough. Texas is favored 9 at Texas Tech. And I don't know if they can cover that. What do you think?
I stayed away from that game. I don't know. I was really high on Texas. I think they played Arkansas. I did see Arkansas is like plus. Where were they at? I think plus 6.
Arkansas, they're plus 4.5 against A&M.
Yeah, so I looked at that. I thought that could be a good game. Arkansas did look good at home against Texas, so I think that might be something. I can't pull the Texas trigger anymore. 9 points, that's a lot of
Texas is bad. I was thinking Texas Tech covers that game.
Okay. I think that's an opportunity.
So yeah, I don't know. This is gonna be. There's a lot of tough games. I like the Michigan State, Nebraska. Nebraska's a very bad team. I think you're right. They can come out and win easily there. For me, though, I'm actually going to go ahead and move to, you know what? I'm going to take West Virginia plus 16.5 against Oklahoma. Oklahoma has not looked good, and that's just a very large spread.
They're having a lot of teams stay around when they're like...
Yeah, so I'm taking West Virginia plus 16.5. And I'm going to ride with that. And then I'm also going to take... Man, I had one more written down, but I just don't know if I want... Oh, man. I'm going to take... You know what? I'm going to take Texas A&M minus 4.5 against Arkansas. I don't think... Texas is not a good team. I just think A&M's really good this year. And I think
Arkansas is not a good team?
No, Texas isn't, and Arkansas beat them.
Oh,
so I'm talking about Texas A&M against Arkansas.
Okay, gotcha.
Texas A&M minus 4.5 against Arkansas. I just think they're a lot better than Arkansas. Arkansas has played Texas, who I think is not very good. A lot of hype built around them. So I like Texas A&M minus 4.5 as well as then West Virginia plus 16.5 against Oklahoma. So those are my college picks, and then
mine was Michigan State minus 5 against Nebraska at home, and then Mississippi State plus 2.5 against LSU.
Okay, so that'll wrap up our episode here. Kind of went over must adds, some busts, some booms for this week, as well as our college football picks and our Thursday night picks. We forgot. If you were looking at Thursday night, Tim, pick one must-start guy right now for Thursday night football.
Honestly, this DJ Moore. I think
Moore?
He has 19 targets, going to get more against a Texans defense that I don't think is that good.
No.
I think teams are just kind of playing lackadaisical against him and just don't think they're that good. So I'm going DJ Moore.
Yeah. Okay, and then that's what mine's going to be opposite side of the ball. It's Brandon Cooks.
Yep, I was almost at Brandon.
It's just he's their best player. He's putting up points each week, so he's going to be my must-start this week for them. So that'll round out our episode here then. So our must-starts then, you got DJ Moore, Brandon Cooks. Almost slipped our minds there, but go ahead, check out the bets. Check us out on Action, TikTok, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts. So we appreciate all the support. If you guys are listening on YouTube or watching on YouTube, just go ahead and hit that subscribe. We appreciate it a lot. You don't even really, you just sign in, subscribe. You don't even have to check it ever again. But so yeah, that's our picks for this week, our waiver pickups and our booms or busts. And we look forward. We'll have our next episode out Saturday as well with our pick 'em on Sunday as well to keep track of our locks and everything. So we appreciate all the support. Thanks, everybody. Deuces.
See ya.